Hey everyone, James here from F9 Audio and the Freemasons, and welcome to F9 TRAX Los Angeles. Before we go any further, let me just play you this. Now, that for me is a perfect example of what this is all about. If you're new to F9 and new to TRAX, let me explain. Within every single TRAX release, you get 5 fully functioning and fully customizable DAW projects with all the audio included. There are no third-party plugins used at all. This is only using the stuff that is built into your DAW. But here's the most important part. These projects are built heavily on multi-sampled instruments, drum and effects menus, and MIDI. Now that means that you can go in and change absolutely anything, strip it right back, tear it to pieces, build your own track, do whatever you want. And also that you can install the incredible amount of content into your own DAW. This Los Angeles edition of TRAX is fully compatible with Logic X and Ableton 9.5 onwards. It is our tribute to the huge amount of creatives that work within the Los Angeles area that have dominated the world streaming charts in recent years. Now, to get so many genres in one pack, we had to create an enormous amount of content. And we're very proud to say that this pack contains over 110 multi-sampled instruments and drum and effects menus. Full instructions are included on how to install this content into your own library, and in Logic you get channel strip settings to go alongside the sampled content, and in Ableton we've racked everything with macros. Okay, let me show you some of this content, and here's one of my favorites. Now, if you're wondering how this is done, this is using the robot mode in a piece of Roland technology called Venice. The most recent version was available on the Synth GT, and I'm pretty sure this is how everyone's favourite French robots have been getting their vocoder sounds. We've got a couple of patches here that are sampling every single note. That's how we can play chords. Every single note was sampled. And just a couple of phrases to give you an idea of the power of this. Here's the new disco bass patch from this production. And obviously, as we said, this is all built from MIDI. So if you want to see how we're getting these bass lines, let me just solo this section. One of the driving factors in this track is the poly keys that play throughout. Now you hear there's a kind of automatic sidechain on this. Now this is actually sampled from Behringer's new DeepMind synth, and as always with TRAX, all of the processing is here for you to have a look at. So you can see the EQ moves we've made, you can see we've got a touch of bit crushing on this, and how we're using on this Logic page the internal tremolo to create a kind of sidechain duck. Now, for me, this is the real power of TRAX, as we're able to deliver you technique as well as just the content. Okay, so we've jumped over to Ableton now, and this is the second project page called Pacific that I want to show you. It's 98 BPM, and it sounds like this. So I've just opened up a couple of the tracks so you can see some of the live MIDI. But before we go any further, I just want to quickly mention the new Zenith 808, 606 and Microbrute kits that are included within this pack. We've multi-sampled them with 8 times round robin, some of them a couple more. So that helps you kind of create or recreate some of the soul of the original machines. Now, for those of you that say that it's not possible within Ableton, well, there is a workaround, and I just want to show you that briefly here. These are, for example, on the 808 kit, I've highlighted the 8 kick samples, and on the selection tab here within the Ranger, I've used this option, distribute ranges equally. Now, if you come to the modulation section, turn on one of the LFOs, turn the wave type to random, turn the re-trigger off and the frequency all the way up, you can send it to a sample selector at 100% and it will randomly pick one of the samples. Now, it's not true round robin, but it will emulate it. So a great tip there if you're doing your own multi-samples within Ableton. But of course, any drum kit is about the sound. So let me just play you back examples of these by themselves. First the 808, then the 606 with just a little bit of processing on top. And you'll notice we've really got the hi-hats cutting there. It's vital in modern productions, and we spent a lot of time getting that right. Okay, moving on to some of the other drums that you've heard in this production. So as we can see here, this production is pretty much made out of MIDI parts running the drum menus. There's a couple of the menus I really want to draw your attention to. The first is this selection of stacked snares. And the next one is this selection of reverb percussion sounds that are great for creating fills like this. Now, you can hear from the reverb tails there, this isn't just plug-in reverb. We've used our extensive collection of outboard reverbs and a couple of new additions here, including this fantastic Otto BAM. This is a new reverb processor, but it's emulating the algorithms of all of the old ones. And the great thing is you can use it like a synth. It's got the controls on the front. It's been great fun whilst we created this pack. Okay, now let's play through from a pre-chorus into a chorus, and we'll go through some of the other patches that are making this track up. One of the principal sounds in this production is this pluck patch. And the great thing about working in this manner is that we have to do all of the hard work at the sampling end. So this is actually 4 or 5 synths layered together to create that pluck patch and carefully process, then resampled. We've got these nice low orchestra stabs that add real weight in lower chords. And a dark poly patch that I believe is a mixture of a Roland D50 and an MKS 50. Now, we're really lucky to have a great collection of old and new synths here at F9, so we're able to use some of those sound sources in the content. So I'm just going to solo some of the parts here so you can hear some of the things that they're up to. Now, you've probably already heard a few vocal samples in these productions, and we've got a couple of approaches on this. First of all, we've got a couple of menu kits of vocal hits like this. Some great processing going on there. We had a lot of fun doing these. But we've also got a couple of playable chromatic patches, like this one, for example. And we've been using the Roland VP, VP technology, very phrase technology, in the Roland V Synth to create a lot of these. And this chiff sound we're really happy with. Now, I find all this modern processing fascinating because as a producer that spent years in the trenches, I now see that we're going back to some of the original brilliant experimentation that was going on at the beginning of the sampling era. So long may this kind of thing continue. So I'm sure by now you're starting to see the power of this release. I just want to quickly buzz through this blank writing page. This was a suggestion from a top songwriter, and it's a great idea, something we'll be including in every TRAX release from now. It brings together some of the content on a blank page so you can actually just start from fresh, but with everything nicely EQ'd, set up, and processed. Here's the kicks. Got all the drum menus at the top, clap menu. Some of the hats. And some of the verb percussion you've already heard and snares. Some great bass patches. Sub-hits and dives. This drone bass. So do excuse my keyboard playing. I'm trying to multitask at the moment, which is always complex. We've got this marimba patch that we really went to town on. We wanted a marimba that would cut through almost anything. And this brilliant reverberated piano. It's a piano patch that's been sampled via a Lexicon 224, an original machine, and a Lexicon 300. So as I'm sure you can see, this is a great page if you want to start something from scratch using the inbuilt content. This is the Venice project back in Logic. It's 105 BPM and it's in B minor. We love some of the resonance that you get from chords in B minor, which is why it suited this kind of production perfectly. I've got the automation on show here. Absolutely every part of the production is available for you to dissect and to check out and to see how we're doing things, and so that you can learn from them. And every single page within this release also comes with a set of session notes, both in PDF form and using the notes function on both Ableton and Live. Now here we're not just talking about the production and the sounds used, we're also talking about some of the musical elements and the chord structures. And for us it's the perfect way to kind of deliver this kind of knowledge, both technical and artistic at the same time. Now let's go through some of the standout patches in this one. There's a great distorted drum kit that is being used to great effect alongside some lower sub-ear sounds. Distortion you're hearing on that kit was put on at source as we sampled it using the Culture Vulture Super 15 hardware and the Electron Heat processor. We've got a great droning bass that comes from an MKS-80, which is often considered to be a Jupiter 6 in a box. It's got all oscillators in unison, fairly wide, and some great growl to it. We've layered together a number of polysynth patches here to create the main kind of chordal stabs in the chorus of this particular production. This is what they sound like. Now, as always with most of the principal parts within this pack, all of the notes are available in MIDI, so you can break down and see how we're putting these chord voicings together. Now, sometimes throughout a production, it's possible to run an entire refrain or a kind of riff throughout the entire thing. We've shown you that here by using a number of pick guitar parts. And we've shown you some layering techniques later on in this as other parts come in and out, including a baritone guitar here. Let me just play back this bit. Now, as I'm sure you heard when I took solo off there, those guitar parts kind of fold back into the production and they almost become part of the atmosphere. But they're still there and they're still providing that one-note tension. And it's a great production technique to actually master. Quickly on to some of the lead sounds used. We've got this wonderful synth lead. And an absolute favourite of mine, this reverb pizzicato sound that takes you straight back to 90s house classics. By now you will have heard a few piano parts in the productions, and you've already heard our reverberated piano patch. We've also got a nice sharp and low resource, in other words, low sample set and low memory imprint pop piano patch. And another selection of vocal hits specially created for this particular production. So let's quickly nip through the last two projects. I don't want to go on too far. This video is already starting to get long and I'm sure you're starting to get the idea. This particular production is called Westlake. It's 122 BPM and it's a modern take on a classic house sound. And it goes like this. Now, what we've done in here is used a lot of bass patches, all playing the same thing, and layered them up together and put them in a group. So it's a kind of masterclass in how to do this kind of thing. We've got this chunky bass patch at the bottom, which to my knowledge comes from an old Waldorf microwave. We've got this bass. Kind of classic modern FM patch. Do excuse my keyboard playing at the moment. I have been to the pub at lunchtime. The sub-bass patch just quietly tucked underneath everything, but there are some nice subs in this sound library. There's a chunky bass that's adding a lot of mid-range drive to the whole sound. And one of my favourite sounds from the 90s, this is bamboo bass. And last but certainly not least, we've got the ubiquitous organ bass sound. One patch that we've used to great effect in this production to build tension is a patch that's made up of a series of layers that all work within G minor. It's either chordal information or tonal information, and we've got the modulation wheel controlling the filter cutoff. Now, as the kind of sounds are looping, that allows us to build tension slowly over a period of time like this. And now really quickly into the last project inside of Logic. This is Malibu, and it's actually the biggest project of the entire pack. You can see on Logic here the track count's up to 91. And you've got huge collections of things like marimba banks doing this. And once again, a lot of the drums actually in MIDI, so they're easily customizable. that's it for this walkthrough of TRAX Los Angeles edition. It's been great fun to put together, and we think, like all TRAX releases, it offers something completely different from the normal sound that's out there. We hope you make something massive with it. We hope you get to tear all these project to pieces and build something new out of it, and you enjoy the actual content that's within it. If you do, don't forget to contact us either on social media or at info@f9-audio.com. And we'll see you next time.